Great. Okay. Yes. Now we
Oh,
are.
it does. Yes, we are.
Live.
We are. Woo! All right.
Yay.
So,
We did it.
Pitiful Little Band is here. We're just missing one. Alan will be joining us shortly. But Ryder has assured me this is normal when it comes to Ryder. I'm not Ryder.
Ryder's there.
Yeah, I'm here,
Alan.
and this is
Disappointing
normal.
in
We're
person.
always waiting on him, so it's fine.
Oh my gosh. So awesome. There. Oh, thank you, Devin. She's like, we are live in her live chat. Now, I did notice though, quick thing. When I type under live comments, my comments don't show up. So I think I just got to go into my Facebook in order to do that.
Yes,
Oh,
I went over
You
to Facebook.
just did it right now. Okay. So we are here. Hello, Eric, because he said hi earlier, and I'm saying hi, and he couldn't hear me because we weren't live yet.
Eric's
So
here,
yeah,
Rural Farm Boy's here.
awesome.
Here. No,
Yeah, we're all here.
here.
I'm pretty sure everyone in the chat knows who we are. Do we all want to just give a quick hello anyway, real quick, or do you think that's not really that necessary?
Let's do it because
You
they
want to
took
do it?
out of their day to follow this and watch this. Might as well.
All right. All right. Well, let's we'll start with Devin. Say hi, Devin.
Hi. Devin Myers.
Tell them who you are.
AKA Red 5 Mom, the co-host of Kanata's Castle podcast with Becca. And part of
Awesome.
this pitiful little band right here.
This pitiful little band. All right. And of course, we have Mark. Say hi, Mark.
Hello.
He just says hello.
He was muted.
Come on now.
I was muted because the air conditioner's running, and normally
Let it run.
Yeah, normally I turn off the air conditioner to record, but this is going to be a while, so it's hot today. It's like
No,
real
don't do
feel
that.
99,
Don't suffer. Don't
and this
suffer.
has been Weather Talk.
Yes, right? No, seriously. We're going to have, different sounds because we are live, and I told my family just do what you do, because just like at Celebration, when we sit down and do impromptu type shows, you get the ambiance. So it is what it is. So that's what happens when you're live. So we're going to get kids and spouses and things.
We better not. I've warned all of mine. Well, all of my kids, not all of my spouses.
He has more than one, by the way.
You've opened yourself up to so many jokes.
I do live in Utah. The rumor is that we have to have multiple here. So I've invited Han Solo and the child to join me.
Yeah.
So are you saying Han is a wife?
Spouse, child. Yes.
There you go.
Harrison Ford is a very handsome man.
Yeah, he is. I'd marry him.
My son is named Harrison. I mean,
yes, I would not marry him. That would be weird.
No.
No. That would be weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. We have really went off the rails there. Anyway, Mark, do you want to tell them where you're from? Not Ohio. I mean, like where you're from, like podcast wise.
I now understand the question. Okay. Yes. Idiot's Array and Tarkin's Top Shelf.
Awesome.
And also, this is the original sketch for our little Pitiful Little Band Network. So I had
love
that
it
for a while. Yeah.
That's awesome. And of course, we have Ryder.
Yeah.
I'm not making you go last this time.
Thanks. Yeah, I am with Idiot's Array with Mark and Alan, who's not here yet. But like we said, this is par for the course for Alan. We're always waiting on him. And, that's just part of his charm. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be podcasting with you guys. This has been kind of a long time coming. I love the artwork that Mark and Red 5 Mom put together. I think that's who I know I had nothing to do with it. So this is great.
Yeah, they're quite the talented group because, they got that done like under a day? The artwork, our little logo. Yeah.
I mean, we had a vision, and then each of us had a vision, and then it merged, and it was just like, that's perfect. We don't need any, that's it.
Don't need anything else. Yeah. You guys are awesome. And since Alan isn't here, I'll introduce myself. I'm Becca Benjamin. You might know me, maybe, sort of. So, okay. So I do Tarkin Top Shelf with Mark. And that's fun. We discuss our books and not our books, but Star Wars books. We like to think them as our books, but they're not. But, and then of course with Red 5 Mom on Kanata's Castle, because that's awesome. We could just have a good time. And of course we love Idiot's Array. You guys are just always positive and, sometimes you put something out there that is mind-blowing, like the Qui-Gon Jinn stuff always still blows my mind. Every time you guys go back to him, it's just, yeah. I mean, to me, he's like part of the show. So maybe someday you guys can get him on, or at least Dave Filoni.
Yeah, let's shoot for the moon and get Liam Neeson on.
Yeah, Liam Neeson, sure.
Right? But yeah, so
I'm way behind on listening to Idiots Arrays because I love to make sound bites to put on Twitter of things you guys say.
Oh no.
Yeah, we don't even remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. The charm of my humor is that I don't always think that I'm being funny. I just say what comes to mind, and then people think it's hilarious, and that's great. And I always have to be careful because my mom listens. But yeah, it's no, I don't really have to be careful. This is me. This is what you get.
Wow.
And I see we have some people in the chat that are always saying stuff. Eric, I have to disagree. Han is not married to Chewbacca. Han is Chewbacca's dog. I did not get that out of order. Han is Chewbacca's dog. Han is the pet. That's the way I have always read it.
Anyway. No, he's his best friend. They're like brothers now. That's how I look at it. But all right. So while we're waiting for Alan, let's get into what this thing is about. And of course, I have to go to my notes. So I'm going to go over there and look at that. So this has been in the process for over a year, guys? Yeah. Give or take? Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, we started talking about this around the time of Celebration. I'm trying to think if it was before or after. I think it was after, because that's when I did this first sketch. But I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it was at Celebration we started talking about it.
But. Well, we definitely discussed it there a little bit. We brought it up, and and I think I want to say Mark and I know Devin and I too in private, because obviously we podcast with each other. So we've had a lot of conversations about this, and I don't know how I name dropped, we're just a pitiful little band or something. However, it came up and Mark was like, yep, that's it. We don't need any other names. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, that suggestion is won out, because you can just imagine, you pitiful little band,
Perfect.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, I know it probably sounds in a way bad, like we're mocking ourselves in a way, but at the end of the day, we are really just people like everybody else that just happen to be really passionate about Star Wars. Like we said off air, I mean, we do other things. We do have a life outside of Star Wars. I know, shocking.
Nope.
This isn't the only thing that we do. I would love it to be.
I wish it was the only thing we had to do.
I know, but right now Star Wars doesn't pay the bills. So, it is what it is. But so all in all, I'm going to do
Eric,
really.
Sorry. I don't know why.
What happened?
I'm very quiet. So
see, I said that earlier too, but I can hear you better now.
Yeah.
Okay, how about now?
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I guess I have to have my mic very close to my mouth.
Basically, got to eat it.
Like Pac-Man.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
So we'll just do a little short intro because I know we're going to be all over the place. So this is what I came up with, and eventually it'll probably be someone else reading it, or we can all do it. So this is our Pitiful Little Band. It's our Roundtable episode 1, Behind the Podcast. So welcome to Behind the Podcast with the Pitiful Little Band Network. We're a collective group of positive Star Wars content creators with the hosts of Idiots Array, Kanata's Castle, and of course, Tarkin's Top Shelf Podcasts. So that's really it in a nutshell. So my thought process on this was that if those of you, which I'm sure most of the listeners have because they're Star Wars fans, they have Disney Plus and they're just absorbing all that content that is Star Wars and other things, of course. But Behind the Gallery with The Mandalorian was just, I really wish they would do more things like that, not just on Mandalorian, maybe with the films, which I know we've gotten stuff, documentaries, whatever, that come with each film with the DVDs and that. But I really do think they should do more of this, even with the animation, where you get all these creators that come in and they're working on that project and they sit together and they all discuss what Star Wars is for them, how they got to this point, what stood out to them the most in the beginning, where they are now, where that story has taken them. And I just said, we don't hear enough of that just from the fandom. You know, a lot of things like Twitter is, you know, a lot of negativity. It's been that way probably. Yeah, it's very dark.
A dumpster fire.
Yeah. And it's been that way probably since the sequel started coming out, I would say, is really, really when it started getting just, it's hard. It's hard to stay positive in that atmosphere, you know? So I said, you know, there's a lot of creators out there, you know, whether it be podcasts, YouTubers, bloggers, you name it, you know, we're all doing the same thing. To a degree, we're just putting out Star Wars content, right? And we're talking about what we love. For the most part, there are some that just want to talk about what they don't like. But that to me is just wasted energy. So I wanted to create a space with a network, which I hate the term network. I like collective creators because that's how I look at us, you know, and we're positive, and I want to stay that route and really just dive into things that are Star Wars related and talk about, you know, upcoming things that we have planned for our podcast, but then go beyond that and talk about where we are as a fan, not as a podcaster or as a blogger or whatever we are, you know, however you want to look at it, and just really talk to it on fan level, which is something Devin and I try and do a lot on our own show. It's not about who knows more, how long you've been a fan, you know, that you were in line in the original movies and, you know, waiting and camping out to get into these films. That doesn't mean you're higher up on your fandom poll or bar than somebody else is. And I just want to talk about, you know, why we are a fan and why we do this, you know, what brought us to this point, and look at it from that aspect, if that makes sense. And just really bring home the whole point of being a Star Wars fan and keeping that positivity. Yeah. Even if it's, you know, like the corniest thing that really drives you nuts, but yet you still love it. I mean, one of the things going around right now that people are picking apart, which is just like, I don't understand why it's a big deal, is the fact that Maz gave the medal to Chewbacca. And people are saying that's like the worst thing to happen to Star Wars.
Wait a minute. That makes no sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I picked up on it because Mark had said something about it, so I kind of searched it out to see what he was up tweeting. I think that's what he was talking about. I thought, you got to be kidding me. That is so dumb.
Well, how many people complained that he didn't get one? Now he gets one.
And now he gets one.
Well, I guess that's the point, was that, and not to hash this all up again, because I know it's something, it's a path Mark doesn't like to go down, and I know that. They're looking at it as, this is more or less coming from the younger crowd, which, okay, my kids are young adults, so I get it. But they're basically saying the 40-year-old fan base, I'm part of that, and beyond, up in age, basically it's fan service to them because they're the ones that whined about it in the first place, that, you know, he didn't get the medal.
How do you know it's even fan service? What if it's just something JJ wanted to do?
Yeah, and I don't think JJ does fan service. Sorry to say, JJ does JJ service, and he is a fan.
Love that JJ service.
But I don't know. He's just trying to make the best film, and he's trying to, like, okay, you could look at it as fan service, but really, he's just trying to tie up loose ends from 9 films.
9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I wouldn't want that job.
And like, for me, like, that is like the least offensive thing in that entire film. Like, oh, you know, not that Rey was a Palpatine. That's not your worst thing. Not that, you know, Rey and Ben kissed. Like, that's not your worst thing. But you know, Chewie wasn't there when Leia died, so she couldn't exactly hand it to him.
Right. Maybe she was planning on it, and
I'm sure
Maz knew it.
Well, and also, Maz has a long-standing relationship with Chewbacca. Yeah. Not going to go into detail there, but there's something implied. And so it makes sense that she would be the one to give it to him. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah. So, like, because she is friends with Han and Chewbacca and Leia, and that's established in The Force Awakens, by the way. I mean, that's just continuing a story that we already know, and not even necessarily just the story from A New Hope. So that's like tying A New Hope to episodes 7 and 9. You know what I'm saying? So, like, anyway, it's just the most ridiculous thing. And, like, I went into episode 9 just thinking, you know what? This is going to be divisive. I knew 8 was going to be divisive. and I'm just like, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Right.
I'm gonna have fun. And there were a couple moments where it's like, oh, that's gonna make people mad. I knew it was gonna make, but it's like, you know what? The second time you watch it, it's like, okay, I know all these things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
And don't be like me. For 8 years, I hated the prequels. I watched episode 3 1.5 times, and I like rage quit in the middle of it when it was on DVD. And I'm just like, I'm done with the prequels.
Like
They're so bad.
Star Wars
And
films
then,
right there.
I got into podcasts, like just listening. And Eric, when they were the Force Cast hosts, like they went to this passionate thing about how good the Clone Wars is, even if you don't like the prequels. And so I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So then I did, and then they added them all to Netflix, and it's like, amazing show. And it's like, wait, I want to watch the prequels again. And I turned my mind around completely, because what you have to do with any movie that's a sequel to something that you have loved is go in and say, my expectations will not be met because I am not the one making this.
Absolutely.
And if you can make peace with that, you can enjoy just about anything.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
you have to every time. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And I just want to answer to Ian. I hope I'm saying that correct. I agree with that. It's a weird time. We're going through the strangest time any of us have ever lived through. A lot of people do have too much time on their hands, and they are bored. And, sometimes that causes anxiety, sometimes anger, because you don't know what to do with yourself. And you start just spewing all this stuff. And I think that's what it is. A lot of it is just boredom. Like, what do I do with myself? So I'm going to go on Twitter and just rant and rave about whatever, because I'm bored and I'm mad, and that could really be it. I mean, I can see that. Of course, like, Mark, you homeschool, you've been with your family throughout this whole thing. Devin, you work tremendously so hard for your family. You're a caretaker for your mother-in-law while your husband is away working. And Ryder, we've been working through this thing the whole way because we're both in healthcare. So really, boredom doesn't really happen to us. It's trying to find time to do these things. Because this is our therapy, seriously, like without this, I would probably go like crazy. But getting back into the whole Star Wars thing and the fan service, I love what we're going with this. Because if you think about it, the original movies were George's service, correct? It's a story that he really wanted to do. He was hoping he'd make enough money off the first one to complete, right? To get that trilogy out. And eventually he's like, I would like to tell another, the story of how this all happened, How I Met Your Mother. That's how I look at it. But anyway, and I look at the prequels in a sense, it's something George wanted to do, yes, but it is in a way fan service. The fans were hoping, crying. We were all like, oh, I wish we'd get more Star Wars. How many times did people say that? Like, especially if you were to, because it was before internet days. Like when Phantom Menace came out, we were just getting into the internet stages. We had dial-up and all that stuff. That was fun, wasn't it?
You had to wait an hour for the trailer to download.
Right? Oh my gosh. Because everyone's downloading at the same time.
We would go into the art room at night, and because I was in plays, and the junior high art room was right next to the stage.
Junior high?
Yeah.
I was married. I was in high school. I was in high school, but the junior high and the high school are on the same grounds, and the auditorium was in the junior high. So anyway, the junior high art room with all its computers and stuff was right next to the stage. So when trailers were coming out for Spider-Man and the Phantom Menace, one of us would literally go to one of the computers, log in, and set it to download so that the next day we could come back and watch it. It would take that long.
It did. It literally took that long. Yeah.
It was more than an hour. Yeah.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And it was like this little square.
And it was very grainy.
Yeah.
Wow, this is going to be the best thing ever. And I see in the chat, somebody said that they're just bored. I mean, and then Eric said that his Star Trek films are definitely not fan service. I mean, I agree. I think they're great.
No,
but they're actually, not fan service. Let me give you a really, really concise definition of fan service. Okay. Something in a movie that other people liked and you didn't. That's fan service. If you didn't like it, but other people did, well, that's fan service.
Yeah.
Wait, aren't you a fan?
Well,
anyway.
You're right. True. But and that's how I look at the prequels. I mean, really, George answered us. And then he probably wished he didn't, because we
It's so true.
No one,
Sold it after.
he was listening, but he was only half listening. Most of the majority, I was not one of them, but the majority of the fandom didn't want to see a little 9-year-old Darth Vader. They wanted right from the beginning how he felt.
Oh, yeah.
Like right there. And they wanted to see, him just taking people's heads off and choking them. And, they wanted that violent person.
But George wanted us to see how he got to who he was
how
before.
a good person can make the wrong decision.
To care? How are you going to have? How are you going to care about
Empathy.
Vader
Yeah.
and have empathy with Vader if you don't have that Phantom Menace story? You can't. He's hated through the first 3 movies, so the only time
I didn't hate him.
Return. Okay. I know you didn't
normal.
hate him. But you didn't feel anything for him until Return of the Jedi, in the final scene, tell your sister you were right.
Aww. It breaks my heart. I'm sorry. I just love that family, as dysfunctional as they are, because they represent us all. We all have issues. No one's family is perfect.
And we've talked about this on Idiot's Array with the going in with expectations into like The Last Jedi. I went in with expectations. The first time I saw it, I thought, "Oh, what was that?" It was like over my head, I guess. And then I went the next day and saw it, and it was amazing. So it was just that I'd gotten those stupid expectations out of the way. And going to see The Rise of Skywalker, I went with no expectations. I didn't care what I saw. I just went in hoping that it was going to be a good movie, and it was. And I love it. And I know a lot of people don't, but I don't really care. And I went during March and April. I was not working as much as I normally work. I work a day or 2 a week, and so I had a lot of time to fill, and we couldn't go out and do anything. So my 8-year-old and I watched just about every Star Wars movie. And when you watch Star Wars movies with kids, it totally is a different experience, because he knew a little bit about Star Wars. He'd never watched all of them all the way through. We started with the original trilogy and then went back and watched the prequels and then started the sequel trilogy. And he's seen most of the sequel trilogy, but he hadn't seen the other 6 that much. And he loved them. And he just wanted to watch more. He didn't complain about Jar Jar. He didn't complain about Palpatine coming back in The Rise of Skywalker. He didn't complain about Ewoks. He just loved the story. I wanted to know more and more. And I just think watching it with kids and looking at it that way makes Star Wars so much more enjoyable. And now he's gone and watched like all the Clone Wars and I haven't heard a negative word about those either. He just wants to know more, and he'll ask these questions, and even I can't answer some of them, so I feel like a bad dad. But it's just I don't know. I think watching with kids and just enjoying Star Wars is probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah, to quote Yoda, "Oh, the mind of a child." I mean, it really is. And I know, Mark, you're starting to see that now with your kids. I mean, watching the Star Wars films with the kids, which my daughter's in the chat, my oldest, hi, honey, my soon-to-be 23-year-old, she knows this very well. There was a point in I call it our dark days, where I couldn't, it was just me in the picture for them as a parent. And we couldn't afford cable and things like that. So they were forced to watch my DVDs of Star Wars, and they watch that day in, day out, and they know the stories. In fact, my son has recently told me if it wasn't for Star Wars, he wouldn't have passed senior hero's journey in his senior year of English, because of course he talked and wrote about Luke. I mean, all 3 of my kids know Star Wars, probably more than the average, Star Wars movie goer. Like if you're just into films or whatever, but they know because all the stuff I do, I'll talk about books, I'll talk about the comics I've read, I'll talk about the video game. My son is immersed in the video games. Like, so just, like you're talking about with your 8-year-old, my son was 8 when I took him to Star Wars Celebration back in 2010, and looking through his eyes, walking through the main hall, and it opened my eyes to a whole new world of Star Wars, because the purity of it, they don't think too hard. Mm-hmm. I think George has often said, it was meant for 12-year-olds, and you weren't meant to think too hard about it. It's to make you feel good. It's to make you feel that there's still hope. These stories are based on that, to give you that feeling that things could get better, and they can, but you can't lose that feeling that things will. You have to have that hope. And that's what these stories kind of keep alive. Because you think back in 1977, granted, I was only, 3 years old going on 4. Devin, obviously, you were into your early teenage years. It meant something to you guys then, because the world was going through such, well, look at it today. But again, it was going through such a weird time in your lives. And this was probably one of the first films that gave you that sense of hope, that things weren't so morbid, that there was something beyond, and you could get there too, even though it was in a galaxy far, far away. Is that true? Because that's what everyone says.
Well,
and that's why
77. I mean, we were watching the Vietnam War on our televisions. So, but I wasn't really paying attention to that so much. I think about it. It just was something so otherworldly, maybe subconsciously, but that I just clung to it in every way I could think of, and it was it was my escape at that point.
Yeah, that's, like I said, that's a different experience than the rest of us have, because a lot of us probably didn't even get to see the originals until they came out again in theater. I mean, obviously we all had, VHS and things, that are watching it on the TV. I know I did see all 3 of the originals in theater because my mother was a huge sci-fi fan, and my brother was like already getting the toys prior to coming out. He had that little cardboard stand where he had to wait for the toys because he's 2 years older. But I mean, we did get to see them. It was a big family event to go. Because back then that's what people did. Either you went to the drive-in, with your family, and in the station wagon, with the sleeping bags and all that kind of stuff, because we were cool back then. Which drive-ins are coming back, by the way, during all this.
We have a drive-in pretty close to here. It's awesome.
Awesome. See, I would love to get right back into that, that was cool. But I mean, Star Wars has a very personal meaning to a lot of us in all different ways. Just like when you sit and you watch Behind the Gallery with, John Favreau, Dave Filoni, Kathleen Kennedy, Bryce Dallas Howard. I mean, they all have a moment where something with Star Wars clicked to them. And that is basically the purpose, or what really stemmed their creative career, was something to do with Star Wars. And that blows my mind, that you see these people that are now working at some part in some fashion. I know Ryder and I are both looking for the right opportunity to come out from Lucasfilm, to give us that opportunity. Every day.
My skills are limited, but I mean, if they need an on-campus dentist, here I am.
And I would be glad to take all appointments for you.
Yes.
I can do that, not a problem. I'm available.
I'm really good at doing dishes, laundry, making coffee. We have a really, really quality espresso machine. I'm a barista at home. We just perfected our homemade pizza recipe tonight.
Awesome.
There you go.
We need to eat.
We need to get some different sauce, I think. But other than that, it's perfect.
It's all about that sauce.
Yeah, and I can learn to do just about anything except calculus. Jeremy, I see that you're in the chat. You're a freak. I don't understand how you do it with the math. That's my brother, by the way, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeremy. Oh, I'm going to have to talk to him.
I want to address something else in this chat. Dave Hackerson said something about Ryder always making it weird.
Always,
I totally disagree with that.
How do you make it weird? Did I just open up a can of worms?
Oh,
sorry.
How would I make it weird? Yeah.
Okay. So in your defense, you just point out the things that were weird that we said that we didn't think were weird and wouldn't have been weird until you pointed it out.
Okay.
So
just clarifying things.
Well, see, I can't say that because it's not rocket science. I saw that too, and I'm trying not to laugh. I have to side with Ryder though, because when for Celebration Orlando
here. Okay, hold on.
That's okay.
There he is.
Hey!
So, hello.
Someone has to make the grand entrance.
Wait, I I need the Imperial March to help me enter. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, forget it. Never mind.
No.
It works. Oh my
I didn't have that
gosh.
queued up. I do have something else queued up though.
Oh, go ahead, play it.
You want me to play that? I don't know
Yeah,
if
play
people will get it though.
Give me time to have a drink.
Oh, here
Cheers,
we
everybody.
go. Yeah, cheers. Let's see.
There we go.
Wait, that's not the Imperial March.
No, it's not.
Hey, play
I
that
was
again,
gonna
though, Mark. Play it
everybody,
again.
but I didn't.
Hey,
That was me.
Mark, play it again, Mark.
All right.
Okay, we're good.
I have no idea what's happening. Okay. All right.
That's awesome.
I'll find you the Imperial March later.
All good.
So, Alan, we're just going around and talking about basically we're mixing what we've seen from behind the gallery, that type of setup amongst the round table, and we're discussing about, what Star Wars means to us, basically from how we got into it. We were just talking about the original trilogy, that time period. We got into prequels and a little bit on quote unquote what people classify as fan service. And yeah, so that's basically where we are. I don't know if you wanted to, maybe chime in a bit on whether it be the originals, if you want to give us a little input on what that was like for you, your introduction into that. I know you're right around my age. Maybe.
Yeah, we're pretty close. Let's see. I was 3 years old when A New Hope hit theaters.
All right.
So yeah, it's crazy because I've talked about this a lot. It's been a family history, or a tradition, I should say, with my parents and I. We've been to every Star Wars in the theater, all of them. I don't remember A New Hope nearly as much. And I've asked my parents and they don't remember. It was either they took me when I was 3, or we waited, because if you guys all remember, it hit theaters 3 years in a row. New Hope was in 77, came back in again 78, and then they released it late 79 heading into 80 for Empire. And so I know I was in the theater for one of those 3 years. I just don't know which one because, 4 years old, I don't remember. But I do remember in 80, 6 years old, going to see Empire. And then we lived in SoCal during that time. So I don't know if any of you know SoCal and remember or know about, there was some dome theaters down there that they had. And I can't remember what they were called, but I remember specifically going to them. And anybody watching this who's in the SoCal, Los Angeles area will know what I'm talking about. But that was my first memory of a Star Wars movie with my parents. And then, of course, Return of the Jedi, I was 9 years old. And that one really, really resonated with me. Vader, Luke, that whole scenario. So and then 97, when they reissued, that's when I really, really got back into it and probably became my crazy self that I am today, was watching those all over again in 97. So, it's, like I said, it's been a family tradition. My parents have seen all of them, all 11 films they have seen with me in the theater.
Awesome. I think that's special.
And my dad's 70, so as long as they continue to release the films and as long as my parents are up to going to theaters, I will continue to take them every single time because it's fun. So
nice.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay.
I thought that would make Alan bigger while he was talking. But it only made me bigger. So.
Yeah. Alan's got a vertical mode right now.
He's at the phone.
Yeah.
There
Hey. By the way, my dad, of all people, I mean, we've seen all of these recently. My dad really liked Solo, right? But of the last trilogy, my dad liked The Rise of Skywalker above all of the other two. Like, that was his favorite one of this trilogy.
Yeah.
That was my wife's favorite too.
So yeah, you're talking old school. My dad loved all the originals, of course. He had a hard time with the prequels. He still does. He's like, and so actually he says the Rise of Skywalker is the best of the last 6 saga films they did. So he loved that one the most.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
you go. Very awesome.
It is my favorite too, actually, Alan, of the three sequels. The last 3. Rise of Skywalker is my favorite because there's
I thought it was awesome. Yeah.
Luke in there, man.
Well, and honestly, The Force Awakens is my favorite. And if you want to talk scores, The Force Awakens easily has my vote for best score of this trilogy.
I have to go with
down.
that.
Oh,
I have to go
Hands
with that
down.
too.
Ray's
I
theme
listen
is
to it on
so
my
good.
walks,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there's something about Ray's theme that just
Oh,
I love it.
gosh.
It's such a
Okay.
mix of Star Wars with Harry Potter going on with it because of the chiming.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
absolutely love it.
But
I
the
In fact-
Rise of Skywalker theme is really good too, you know.
Yes, it
No,
is.
it is.
But,
Oh, yeah.
And to play off of Becca's statement there, Ray's theme is very, and it matches exactly what JJ did. And that was, and what Disney did was move this to Christmas, because you're right, it has that Harry Potter theme, but
Like that
feel to
chiming.
it. But Ray's has very much a Christmas feel to it. And that was the first of the films to hit Christmas time. And I thought
That's
it matched
true.
it perfectly.
Yeah,
And I
see,
loved it.
they released it early.
Yeah.
They released it before the movie, so I remember listening to it, you know, I think it was a week or 2 before the movie came out. And it was at Christmas time, and I remember baking Christmas cookies to that soundtrack, so.
Well, and then there was the Falcon, if you will, theme of the entire soundtrack. Yeah, and Mark knows how musical, you know, this music stuff really hits me. Like, I could listen to these scores. In fact, I know most of them like the back of my hand because I listen to them over and over and over and over again. So,
well,
I would say out of the 3 scores, The Force Awakens did the most in terms of establishing new themes that still sounded familiar. Whereas the way that they approached scoring The Last Jedi, it was less original, because Rian Johnson sort of did a temp track of Star Wars music and other things that he wanted John Williams to kind of give him a tone for. Whereas it felt like The Force Awakens was more of an open book. And then The Rise of Skywalker, I feel like the soundtrack doesn't do it justice, because there is so much music in that film. And, you know, you can listen to it, 100 times and pick out new themes every time. So once I have more time with it, I think that I'll be able to make a better judgment. But like, as far as a standout score in the new era, like The Force Awakens, I think does the most. Yeah. Although I do have a real soft spot for the Solo soundtrack. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Rogue One is very good too.
Thank you.
So none of it is bad. I should say none of it's bad.
I like some of the Rogue One music seemed a little darker to me, I thought, and I really like that. I don't know what that says about me.
But see, Giacchino's had some great scores. I mean, you talk Incredibles, you talk these others he's done. I would argue that Rogue One is his best score of all. Of everything he's done, that is hands down his best, because he drew in John Williams' themes very well into it, right down to that scene on Mustafar. You can hear in the background A New Hope, you know, the theme he drew in with that. Do you guys remember the one I'm talking about? That the little oboe track. Do you remember that? So he just knew how to draw it in, and so Giacchino's masterful, and I felt like that was his best work, period. And he's done some great stuff over the years.
Oh yeah, I mean, the 2 from that film that really get me is when we see the introduction to Jeddah City, and it's almost sounds like something's being slicing through, and I love that because it's so unique and it's different, but it fits Star Wars because of it being so different. And I love, and it's again because I like my, you know, dark and romantic stuff that just makes me bawl. I love the music in between the last scene that we get on Scarif with Jin and Cassian. That song right there, every time I hear it, it just brings a wave of sadness, but yet it's so beautiful at the same time.
I believe that's called Stardust.
And
yes.
That's right there.
It's a beautiful.
And see,
I think he's a great composer. I mean, just go to IMDb and look at his filmography as a composer. I mean, we got The Incredibles. We've got Coco, which, you know, that is a brilliant movie. I cry every time. And he's done some of the Mission Impossible themes like the best. So, I mean, if there's anybody who is in contention for like this generation's John Williams, it would easily be Michael Giacchino if John Williams wasn't still composing, you know?
Right.
So there
So
is
I have to
talent out
ask.
there.
So I have to ask, since we're on the subject of scores, I know I come into this and we just transitioned into
That's
something I'm
okay.
sure completely
That's what it's
different.
supposed to be.
But
Yeah,
but I'm going to
Freeform.
segue. I'm going to segue into my question by stating this: my favorite song, or should say, motif from all of Rogue One, is that scene with Vader at the very end of the film.
Oh,
And the reason why is that one mirrors, if you will, a scene from my favorite movie and favorite score of the entire saga, and that is Anakin Skywalker on Mustafar killing the Separatists, and how those if you listen to those songs almost side by side, they're so similar.
is that right?
And yes, they're not exactly the same, but you can hear there is the choirs, there is that sound as Vader is killing off the rebels, and it's that same kind of feel with music, with the chorus and everything, as Anakin is killing the separatists on Mustafar. And it's very interesting to me to watch the two of them. So that segues me into my question. Name your favorite score of all of the saga, because I've just told you mine. What is your favorite score of the entire saga?
So the entire movie score? Gadzooks.
Yeah, your favorite
exactly.
score.
I'm going to say Rogue One. I'm going with Rogue One. Sorry.
You mean the whole movie? The whole movie. Got to pick a score.
Yes, you have to pick an entire score. So it has to be a film. Yes.
People in the chat
the whole
also.
film.
People in the chat also. Oh, we lost Alan. Okay.
He wants us to answer, but he just I guess he doesn't want us to answer.
People in the chat also answer the question. Let us see.
Oh yeah, so he means not just one specific score. He means the film.
Yes, the film score.
Okay.
Sorry, I exited the show while you guys were talking. So yeah,
we were just discussing your sudden departure.
We also ask people in the chat to answer your question as well.
Yeah.
So
okay. I want to hear people's thoughts. But yes, I'm talking score for a specific film. So mine is Revenge of the Sith. That entire score is easily my favorite. It is also the most dark of all of them, of course, but that is my favorite score of all of the films. So what is yours?
Wow.
Mine's Empire Strikes Back. No, sorry, wrong one. No, Return to the Jedi. What am I thinking?
I don't know. I
meant to say, see, okay, my mouth said the one thing, but my brain was telling me the anyway.
This is really hard.
I know. And sorry, I'm moving my camera around while we're talking because
while you're thinking, then I'll explain, because I love the battle, the throne room battle between Vader and Luke. I would rewind that scene over
just for the Duel of Fates,
just for the song, the soundtrack for that.
The choir going along on that when they're like when Luke really goes after Vader.
Yeah,
like that's just
the choir comes up in there. It's like it's awesome.
Well, and see, I could ask you motif. I could ask you theme, depending on what it is. I want the whole soundtrack because here I am. You guys are talking about that. I'm thinking about the theme between Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting, and throw in the Emperor and the Emperor and Yoda's theme in there, where da 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 da.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So anyway, favorite. Just choose one of all 9 films or 11 films.
I can't.
See, I would go with Return of the Jedi, but the soundtrack you can buy is different than the music that's in the film, because they were editing like right up until the end. And so Jabba's theme, which is incredible. It's like this bumbling tuba part. It's like there's a hint of it.
It's so fitting for Mark, though. It seriously is.
But there's a hint of it, but that's all you get. The only time you ever actually hear Jabba's theme in a film is when they brought him back into A New Hope for the special edition. And so as far as speaking of on film, I would say The Phantom Menace, because it introduced a whole new sound and style. It's got Duel of the Fates. But even though I was talking crap on The Last Jedi a little bit, it has one of my favorite themes, which is Rose's theme. Dun, 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 dun. Like, it's so hopeful.
Oh,
and it kind of reminds me, but like But think about what you get in the Phantom Menace. You get Anakin's theme, which is incredible. It's a really dense piece of music. I would say it might be the best character piece that John Williams wrote for the entire saga, aside from
I would
Rey.
not disagree with that.
I mean, Rey is
not
like right on that level. But like Anakin's theme, you know, obviously you didn't get Across the Stars until episode 2. That film, that's all over the film though. But you know, with Anakin's theme, you get the bits of hope, but you got like the rhythm that gets into like the Empire, like at the end, dun, 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 dun. Like everything's there. The hopefulness, the darkness, it's all there. And then Duel of the Fates on top of it, just incredible. So I'd say the Phantom Menace. But I could make an argument for pretty much all of them.
I know you can.
By the way, you mentioned, you know, Jabba's theme. You mentioned some things missing from the actual albums that we buy or the actual things we buy and listen to. A couple of notes. Phantom Menace is the only one that ever released the official unedited score on 2 discs.
Yeah.
Now, that said,
A New Hope on vinyl.
Did they?
Okay.
On vinyl. Look at her with her mic. I love
if you do want A New Hope with all of its things, you can buy. I bought a box set back in the day, and now you can buy 2 discs of each film. But another song that never made it into the film, or never made it, I should say, even on the original score, was Lapty Neck.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. So
I'm
I mean,
clueless. What?
Lapty Neck.
Yeah.
It's the original Jabba's Palace music. Yeah.
Come on.
Yes.
Written by.
Well, I didn't know the name of it.
It's the little. It's that little.
And by the way, Eric, no, I was not calling Mark Jabba. I was not saying that, but it just I wasn't saying that.
No, it's
I could see you liking it because you always go so beyond what anyone else is thinking. You had this own unique taste that's Mark's, and it just makes sense to me that would be something you would go with.
Thanks to Becca and Eric.
Like
thanks to Becca and Eric. From now on, when we start Idiots of the Ray, it will be in and Mark Suter, Jabba, yes.
Sorry, Mark, I was not saying that, and you know that. Oh my gosh! I knew that was coming. See?
Okay, so have any of our listeners talked about what their favorite one is?
Yes, a lot of them are saying Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
a lot of them are
it's good.
saying
It's good.
Letitia said Solo. I saw that. Ryder, you said Solo as well, correct?
I said Rogue One.
Rogue One. Yes, Rogue One. Oh wow! So was that the only one who didn't answer?
Dave is writing just amazing prose in here. So
yeah,
he is awesome.
He always sends us the best stuff.
Yeah.
Like if we don't have a show topic, if we
like,
got something from Dave, I mean, boom! Like we just read his stuff and go into it. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. And I've actually taken some time and actually talked with him on the phone. So I feel fortunate.
Awesome.
He is a great guy to talk to. We talked, and I know he's watching. Dave, I had a great conversation with you. It was my Saturday morning. I think it was I don't remember what day it was, but we had a nice chat for, it was like a half an hour. He's a great guy to talk to, not just to pick his brain, whether you read his articles on Facebook or anything, but also just to chat. It was really nice to chat with him. So
very nice guy.
And so Dave, sometime you got to call me again. I actually would love to talk to you at some point in time again. It's fun. So, yes. Now that we're off subject, I took you guys completely off where you were talking about. So,
and I never answered you though. But I never answered. I'm the only one.
Could we have Dave call Alan right now so we stop
Yeah.
Maybe if Dave could call Alan right now.
Then Alan will be gone and we won't have to look at him anymore.
Oh my
Sorry, this is the dynamic.
I can feel the love.
Okay. Idiots of Ray is 3 people that insult each other openly. Well, not Ryder.
It's
Ryder's
not
really nice. Ryder's not always. Ryder gets us in the chat privately later, always threatening me with gauze. But no, like the 3 of us, we give each other a hard time. It's a brotherly thing. We're like brothers.
Devin and I, we don't do that, but we get on these like weird tangents about like pants in Star Wars.
Oh yes, pants.
Okay, what's
we had
funny
a
is I
whole
can't.
topic on Kylo Ren's pants.
So Becca. So what is your favorite score? And then we do need to talk about the music from The Mandalorian. Thank you, Eric.
Oh yes, yeah, because that's like a 1-man band going on right there. That's pretty cool. So my go-to film, everyone knows, is A New Hope. But if I had to go just by score, because the movie is very personal to me for what it stands for and everything that happens, I'd probably have to go with Revenge of the Sith. From the moment of Padme's rumination, that I lose it. I mean, it's so emotional because I feel like at that moment I'm going through what she went through. Of course, not on a galactic scale, but yeah, I mean, I can just put myself in her place at that moment. And it's that movie, like you said, Ellen, it's extremely dark and there's just so many horrific things that are coming down and happening. But that is really the catalyst of what leads into the original trilogy. So it has to be dark and these good people making decisions based on their emotions. They're basically, it's a common trope. Our hero is usually blinded or clouded by the relationship that they're in. And they, instead of choosing the greater good, they choose that relationship over all else. And it's just a common trope. You see it in a lot of different genres, not just Star Wars. And it makes sense that our dynamic hero, the hero with no fear, would at that, because he's 23 years old. I mean, you're expecting this young guy who's married in a secret relationship, can't tell his best friend because he's out of the club then, you know what I mean? And the club is everything, but yet he has to have his cake and eat it too, right? So he's got this secret life. Right.
And if you want to talk about microcosm bookends of each other, Revenge of the Sith on one side and Empire on the other side. And if you watch them, they are almost mirror images heading to the other direction of each other. Sure. Anakin turns to the dark side. Anakin loses, Padme is gone. He loses her. He loses everything he loves. And in Empire, we see Vader at his most ruthless, but we also see him start to gain something back because that's when he realizes he has a son. And that's when all of this comes back. You can almost, not that you want to skip A New Hope, but you can almost span it and jump from one to the other because of the way that they really trail to each other.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it really is a tale of this, heartbroken shell of a man, literally, trying to find everything he's been looking for his entire life. And that's the sad thing, because you look at, regardless of what anyone thinks about Palpatine coming back in the sequel trilogy, he is the most hideous, evil genius ever. And he has ruined so many lives. And that's basically what it's about. Every person that he touched that closely, he's destroyed them. He's destroyed.
And all Ryder can think about is how bad his teeth are.
Well, his teeth are terrible.
He needs a dentist, amongst all of them.
I could retire off of that mouth, but you're totally right.
That's a lot of credits that man has, too. It's in the votes and the Death Star.
You think he could have cloned himself some better teeth, right?
It wasn't a perfect clone, obviously.
No, that's why he needed Rey. She's got great teeth, man.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
He'd like to work on that mouth. Great chopper.
It's amazing.
Sorry, got us off topic again. I'm awful.
She has really nice teeth and grew up in England. So, what does that tell you? But, Palpatine has ruined.
That's what that says.
Palpatine has ruined pretty much everybody he's come in contact with. And he has no remorse about it. He was very patient.
He needs to use a water pick. Thank you, Eric.
That would help.
I'm sorry. That is the best.
Yeah. The only time he had a good set of teeth was after he sucked all the youth out of Rey.
And then he blasted his face off.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Melting. Literally.
We should watch that again and see if the teeth are the last thing to go. Because
I'm going to watch for that now.
Yeah.
No better moment.
Like, I want to know, were they good?
Wait, stop.
Did
really?
They just suck all? Okay.
Wait. Stop right there. Were the teeth there? Because you can clone from teeth.
Well, and the forensic.
That whole room got destroyed. It's gone.
I mean, Palpatine's teeth at his best was in the battle against Yoda.
Yeah.
Right? I can't pull it off before he slices down on Yoda. So hey, whatever.
You get a good shot of him. Yeah.
Well, thank you. All right.
All right.
So
all right.
where did we want to go? Where are you guys going? I'm kind of along for the ride here.
Well, I wanted to really know. Like I said, we're a positive group of, Star Wars content creators, right? So we're trying to keep this very positive.
Right.
So now that the Skywalker saga is done, okay, for now, we'll leave it at that, because who knows? In 20 years, they might want to go back and re-explore it and start something out of there. But anyway, who knows? So now that it's finished, now not as a creator, as a podcast or anything like that, just as a fan, where you are, how do you feel about that? Were your expectations met? Are you satisfied? Or is there a part of you missing the fact that we won't be watching this Skywalker family any longer? I know it's a big question, but I need to know how all you feel about that.
I would say that I'm satisfied in one regard because we got closure on Luke, on Leia, on Han. So like as far as that ongoing arc, and I think bringing in Palpatine was great because evil can't return without the devil still being there. So he has to be. So that just makes sense. The more I think about it, the more sense it makes. And I would have never thought of it. And it's genius that they did. I'm also glad they didn't try to hide it, because that would have just been like Khan in Star Trek Into Darkness, like very, very obvious very quickly, because the whole plot is him. So how else would you market the movie? Anyway, right. But as far as the newer characters, I don't really feel like we have closure on, Finn for sure. And you could say we have closure on Rey, but I feel like especially Finn and Rey, there's more that they can do. Poe Dameron, I think that if they're going to do more films, he doesn't necessarily have to be in it. He wasn't as major a character as they made him out to be at first. They did give him more to do in the third one, obviously.
He wasn't supposed to.
Right. He wasn't even supposed to live, honestly. Yeah. They changed it later. But the thing is, since he has expressed no interest in doing more, which I can't really blame him, it's not really the kind of film he likes to make usually. I think his role as becoming like the leader of the resistance, he fulfilled that. And I don't see him having a future as a politician or anything. So I would consider his arc pretty well resolved. But definitely like Finn and Rey, like I want to see them training Jedi. It doesn't have to be episode 10, but I want to see a continuation of those stories. So the answer to your question is yes and no.
Yes.
Well, thanks for being so clear on that. Like, wow.
I don't know if I'll be any better because so The Force Awakens brought to me like a kid opening a Christmas present all over again. Only it was really new because with the prequel trilogy, I felt in a way we knew what we were getting, right? At least to an extent we did. Each one's still surprised, but we knew. With this trilogy, we didn't know. And to me, I don't think I got enough closure with Rey. In fact, the twist that she was Palpatine's granddaughter, I think really made it hard for me to even accept closure on her. I wanted more, and I was hoping for more. And with the power and potential that she had, we saw Luke's progression as a Jedi become what he did through the original trilogy. And I felt like he got farther along than she did. And I felt like she could have gotten, we could have seen her progress even more. If I'm making any sense there. But to me, no, I didn't get the closure I wanted, but I can admit that after Revenge of the Sith, I was probably okay with being done. So I'm glad they brought these back, and I'm glad they did these. I didn't like ending on Rise of Skywalker, the film, but I felt like there was too much in one film, and we really should get more. I felt like that wasn't enough, and maybe it was too much all at once. Whatever it was, to me, it left me wanting more. and maybe left me very unsatisfied. And I'm not.
Aren't we getting a director's cut of that movie?
Oh no! Come on. I have a question though for Alan.
Yeah.
On that notion of what you're saying, it was too much for one film, because this is something Devin and I definitely talked about. Would you have felt it would have played out better if we would have got something as a finale close to the Harry Potter, how it was split into two? How it was Deathly Hallows Part 1 and then Part 2. What do you think if they would have done it?
Part of me says yes, but then it's outside of the mold that is Star Wars, where we get trilogies.
True.
So you add
but isn't
one
it
more,
time to move beyond that?
Yeah. Yes. And I really wish we could have done more, because the sudden, and I'm not kidding, it was a sudden appearance of Palpatine made me go, wait, what? Where have we been for the last, oh, wait, not even 2 years. What the heck happened? Right.
Read Aftermath.
How did,
sorry.
Right. No. And Aftermath, no, but Aftermath set this all up very beautifully. Sure. But to me, it was like, wait, what? You know, and the first time I saw it, because I saw it twice, the first time I saw it, I watched it, and when the reveal that she was his granddaughter, the look on my face, I can tell you, is, what? Wait,
There's
what?
A story there.
And so then the second time I watched it, I was like, okay, yeah, I can see it now. I feel it. But so yes, could they have done another film, and would I have been good with it? Yes, it would have, because I did. That movie to me felt extremely fast-paced, rushed. I love fast-paced, but I love if you can slow it down, tone it down, and give me some really nice slow moments in the film. Some moments like Luke and Leia had in Return of the Jedi. Moments like Padme and Anakin had on regular basis in some of the films they went through. We needed some time to slow down. We needed it badly.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I really feel this trilogy was kind of rushed. Dev, what do you think? Sorry, Ryder, I don't mean to make you go last, but I'm going to go to Dev.
I'm last. It's fine.
Yeah, we can just skip him entirely.
Yeah.
Always last.
Yeah, that is usually what they do.
Well,
used to it. But when Devin's done, I want to talk about how overrated the Beatles are. So go ahead.
You see what's up on my shelf? You see that's right here?
That's Mark Hamill's favorite too, Ryder.
Beatles.
Yeah, it is.
Those are fighting words, man.
We've had it out on Idiots Array about that, because Ryder's wrong. Plain and simple, Ryder's wrong. Okay, Devin, back to you.
Yeah, are you satisfied by The Rise of Skywalker? There we
go. The Rise of Skywalker, or the trilogy?
The whole entire saga.
The whole saga.
Are you satisfied?
Yes and no, because I needed more Luke, and I'm not. I mean, I'm accepting. I'm accepting what they did with Luke, and I've grown to be okay with it. But my personal wanted more Luke and wanted him to be different. In The Force Awakens, I wanted him to show up and save the day.
She wanted him to come with that laser sword and save the day.
I didn't want them to kill him off in the second one, but I do like the way they treated it, and they kind of made him a little more relatable in some respects.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, also showing that Jedi make mistakes, and it was a way for Rey to learn from his mistakes. And I liked seeing that, but I love JJ for at least putting in my favorite scene where, Yoda couldn't get the ship out, and Yoda did. And they let Luke get the ship out of the water this time. And I just, I tell you, that was my tear up moment from that movie. I don't know why.
She did. She grabbed my arm. She goes, I love it. Because we were together for that. So that was awesome. So yeah,
that was my tear up moment. So I'm satisfied with the saga, just not with Luke.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Ryder. No Beatles.
So,
are you sad?
Yeah, you get the final say, Ryder. You get the
final say. Your expectations met.
Yes, I am one that is very satisfied with the sequel trilogy. I would like more. I would like more Rey. I feel like at the end of Return of the Jedi, we got Luke just becoming a Jedi, and we didn't get to see any more. And I want to see Rey now that she's become a Jedi, or she's got her gold saber, yellow saber. I want to see more of her. But I am satisfied with the trilogy. I do understand what Alan's saying, that there was a lot packed into that third movie. It was.
I wouldn't have wanted that job. I would not have wanted that job.
Right.
It's a thankless job to have to make that last movie. But I loved every movie. They were all different. The thing that I really especially love about the whole trilogy, is that I got to see Star Wars movies with my kids in theaters, and I never thought I would get to do that. And so they could have thrown up some mess on the movie screen. It could have been a terrible movie, and I would still tear up every time I think about them, because I got to take my kids to see them, and I never thought I would. But as far as the story goes, I love the story. I think the Palpatine thing, throwing him in, and they didn't just throw him in, but having him in The Rise of Skywalker makes more sense if you go back and watch The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi now. I think you can see little hints of him sprinkled in, whether or not JJ knew that he was doing that, and Rian Johnson probably didn't know what was going to happen in The Rise of Skywalker. But it makes sense in hindsight how this story played out. But I would like to see more of Rey. I would like to see more of Finn. I agree with Mark that Poe's story could probably be wrapped up. I would like to know more about Jannah and her upbringing, and seeing maybe how her and Finn were taken as children and made into stormtroopers.
Right.
I think there's more stories to tell, but I would probably like to see them as maybe standalone movies.
Yes,
I think so. Maybe a Rey trilogy down the line would be awesome. Seeing her as an older Jedi, seeing how she takes the Order. But overall, I'm very satisfied, and I just love them all. But part of it is that I went into The Rise of Skywalker with no expectations. I learned from my mistakes, like a true Jedi should. And I enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker, but I enjoy all of them. And I just think it's almost like this gift we were given as Star Wars fans, that we just got a little bit extra in these movies. But I love Solo and Rogue One too, so I have no complaints.
So, and to Becca's point, the Aftermath series, I think, set up Rise of Skywalker pretty well too. And I had forgotten about it, but the very end of that series, you see, and this is what bothered me going into this, is the fact that all along we'd seen contingency plans from Palpatine, but they were contingency plans to destroy the Empire and destroy everything he had built. And there's a little twist I completely forgot about in that book series. And that was the little twist that contingency plan was overthrown, if you will, by the very guy he raised to make sure that contingency plan went through, right? So it's almost like we saw this coming. The last thing I'm going to say with Rise of Skywalker, with this trilogy, and Becca, I know where you stand on this. That's why I know I can pull you out on this one. Is
I know what you're going to say.
What would have happened had we not lost Carrie?
Oh,
yeah.
What would have happened, and where could we have gone? Because I feel like Return of the Jedi set her up for us to believe she was a Jedi and had that feeling. And my feeling on that is, I wanted that in this trilogy. Yeah. I wanted to see her.
We got it.
We saw her in The Force Awakens, and then we saw subtle moments after that. But to me, I felt like we got the wrong end of the deal, because we lost a legend. We lost an important woman in this entire saga, who really could have given us some very wonderful moments. I think one of the things that I thought was missing from Rise of Skywalker was not enough Leia.
Yeah.
Not enough Leia.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and I've got so much to say in that, but I'm going to do my best to shorten it. First of all, I'm grateful that Carrie left us a gift, and that gift is Billy Lord. Without Billy, we wouldn't have gotten those scenes that we got in The Rise of Skywalker. So I'm grateful that we have that. And I'm just going to say, before I knew it was Billy doing those scenes as her mother, I would have never guessed it wasn't Leia. Billy's build. Sorry, it's the tequila rose. Billy's build is very similar to where Carrie was. The same height. She's also said, "I'm a very tiny human." So was Carrie.
Right.
So you look at that. So I'm grateful for that. But where would we be? We'd have a completely different story. I'm going to say this right now. The scene we get in The Rise of Skywalker between Han and Ben would not have happened. It would have been Leia and Ben, and you can argue with me all you want, but if she was here, that would have been her. And here's my thing. I brought down the house, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm going to cry here because it was a very emotional moment. Indiana Comic-Con 2016, this question came up when I was on a panel with the Cantina cast, which at the time was Mike Rondo and Joe Stinson. And they left that for me to answer, how do I feel the Skywalker saga is going to end with the final, because this was before she passed. So she was still alive and well. How do I feel it's going to end? How do I feel this entire story is going to end? And I said, it's going to be Leia. Leia is going to have her Luke moment. It's going to be her bringing her son back, just as Luke brought back his father. It will be her holding her son in her arms, and she will forgive him because he is her son. Regardless of everything he has done, at the end of the day, he's her son. And that's just it. I mean, love knows no bounds. And I got goosebumps because Michael Kogi did something in the junior novelization that I would have loved to have seen play out on screen. And that is when Leia does transcend. When we see her pass, but she doesn't, it's not when she goes, it's when she passes. She does see the first person that waits for her is her father. And it's not Bail Organa. It's Anakin Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a look of shame on his face. And you can see it. He describes a face very similar to what we get in Revenge of the Sith when he's saying goodbye to Obi-Wan on right before they leave and they're separated. And he has that look and he goes, I failed you. And he tells Anakin that he's a greater Jedi than he would ever be, great man. But it's that look that he gives to Leia. And at that moment, she realizes that everything he had done was an act of, because he was acting out of love. It just went the wrong way.
Yeah.
And she forgives him. And that's when she sees her mother, Padme. She sees it all. She sees her entire family all waiting there for her. That is something I really wanted. And I think that's her connection was with her grandmother, Shmi. She realizes then that her grandmother loved her only son beyond doubt, and there's just something to be said between a parent's love and their child. It doesn't matter what they've done. And I think the entire saga would have ended.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
JJ did the best he could.
That he
with what
could.
he had to work with to show that moment of, Leia was holding on. And I mean, we read it in the books and you hear Maz telling her, just, you should just go. But she wasn't ready to leave yet because she knew she had something she had to do. And that was to help Ben turn. And
go ahead.
Go
that
ahead.
was it. I'm done.
I was just going to say, as much as we all wanted Anakin back in this film, what you're talking about right now, those moments, is why we couldn't have Anakin back.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
Because this film was about Leia and her son. That's what this ended up being, about Rey. We couldn't have Anakin as much as we wanted it. We could not have him back as badly as I wanted him as a Force ghost, whatever. I'll take the voice at the end because this was, and I've told people all along, people did not want a redemption story. And I'm going to say this just like I have all along. The reason why this redemption story had to happen and would happen is because of Leia and her love for her son. That's why it happened.
Yeah.
And Rey's a good part of that, but Rey is not the reason why Kylo Ren or Ben came back. It was Leia. Leia did it.
I think if Carrie Fisher had lived, I think we wouldn't have had J.J. Abrams. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that Colin Trevorrow wouldn't have bombed out, because it sounds like his script is very far off from where they ended up going anyway, like not even close.
Right.
So I don't know, but that's a discussion for another day.
Well, and I think
Eric says Han had a hand in turning.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Yep.
And
that hand on the face. I think that.
Yeah, that's one of the most like emotional scenes for me is that when Han reappears, and that was a shocker. That was
I didn't expect that.
I cry every time still.
Yeah,
it's such a good moment.
Every time, and I think it's it mirrors the Return of the Jedi, where the son saves the father, and in this we have the mom saving the son, and it's cool. And I'm with Alan. I wanted to see that. That's one expectation one hope I had, was to see Anakin back, but I think that would have overshadowed what had happened with Han coming back to talk to Ben. It was either Han had to come back or Anakin had to come back to talk to him, I think, at that point,
right,
to prime the pump for Leia, and it had to be Han, I think, in that spot. I think
I agree.
Since you couldn't have Carrie Fisher, that was
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if she was still with us, it would have been her scene.
It would have been her.
100% hers. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Han, but if you look at where they were going before everything happened with Carrie in real life, if you look at The Force Awakens, she tells Han, Luke is a Jedi, you're his father. She's telling Han he has to go, but in the same sense, she's wrong. Just like when Obi-Wan was telling Luke, you must confront Vader again. He's like, well, I can't kill my own father. He was right. He couldn't kill his father.
He was never told to kill him either.
Right. But yet they were trying to get him to, if he still lives, then nothing is done. But Luke showed them that it's not about that there's another way. And that's just it. When Leia tells Han, you're his father, but the whole point was, I think even Han knew it at that time. It's not me he wants. Yeah. It's you.
Right.
Well, and
because everything else mattered.
There.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought, well, you were saying you had to go. Anyway. I thought you were just out.
No, yeah, I need to go anyway. But
and I wonder what.
Yeah, we are at an hour, everybody.
I wonder last thing. I wonder what Luke learned, or what Leia learned from Luke when Luke didn't go kill Vader. He redeemed him, and I wonder what Leia learned from that. By, we don't need to kill Kylo. I mean, nobody would hopefully want to kill their own child, but she learned that there was a path to redemption, no matter how many evils he had committed. Vader had committed just as many, so there was a path to redemption there, and that was that's one of the main storylines that I like in this trilogy.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I have to help my Padawans get ready for bed here soon, so I'm going to leave. But
thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah, very good to talk to you.
Thank you.
May the Force be with you.
Be with you.
Yes.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Salute. Okay.
But I was going to make a comment on what you guys said there too, and that is the redemption arcs. Isn't it interestingly enough that the redemption arcs in Vader's case involved his son, a promising young Jedi who was very powerful, and vice versa on Kylo Ren or Ben's redemption. It took another Jedi, and I'm not talking about Rey. I'm talking about Leia. It took another Jedi and her belief that he would still come back. And it was just very interesting to me that that both redemption arcs involved the family. As much as everybody likes Rey, and Rey is my favorite character of the entire trilogy. Wow. But I felt like this movie showcased exactly what the saga was about, and that was a family. And it ended in the end. Rey was holding him, yes. But in the very end of this entire saga, we've talked about the tragedy that is the Skywalkers. This ended very Shakespearean-esque, where the tragedy of the Skywalkers ended with all of them dying.
Yeah, and it's something that Mark and I talked about on a show of ours. We talked about, and it's a biblical thing, the curse of the father, and that's. So Anakin is very much present throughout all of it, because it is his doing that is the reason why this is still happening. Exactly. Everything he did leads up until this point. That curse is still shadowing them. It is the shadow. And we all say, if Anakin was present, it would kind of take away from what's all happening. But in a way, he kind of is present.
He was.
If you look at it this way, Rey is exactly the Jedi they, as in the Order, would not let Anakin be. They saw, as Luke says, Leia saw your heart. She saw your spirit. Anakin was led by his emotions and his heart. I'm going to cry here. And the Jedi Order was so against that. Detachment, period. No attachments. None. You can't have those kind of feelings. Basically, I'm going back to Frozen. Sorry. Conceal, don't feel. Luke and Leia allowed Rey to feel. That is what led her to heal the snake. That is what led her. I mean, she gave part of her life to a snake.
Right.
You know, I mean, come on. This girl, you know, was just always doing the next right thing, correct? Because she led by her heart. What felt right? What is the right thing to do? So when that all happened with her and Kylo Ren back and forth, and she wanted that Wayfinder, and they fought until literally the death, and then she heard Leia call to Ben, and she realized what she did. She was devastated because she knew I failed. It's like she's feeling I failed my master. I failed her. I failed Luke. I failed Leia. I failed what I'm supposed to be. I'm just like my grandfather. What does she do? She gives part of her life to Ben.
Yep.
And she admits to him, I didn't want any part of you. I didn't want to take your hand. I wanted to take Ben's. Because she knew there was a difference in that person. Just like Luke knew there was Anakin inside Vader.
That's right.
Her moment in that film was Luke's moment in Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Where
she is the Jedi Anakin was meant to be.
Right. Remember when Luke was just railing on Vader over and over and over and over again, and he chops off his hand and he looks down, which, you know, again, you look at The Last Jedi versus, and you can see the similarities there, but where he again looks at his hand, he goes, what have I done? Rey had her Luke moment in this film where she looked down and went, what have I done?
I am Palpatine. Yeah.
And I can't do that. I need to go back here and I need to save Kylo Ren, Ben. I need to save Ben, and then I have a job to do to set the galaxy right for a change.
Yep.
Well,
so
she didn't.
Crazy.
She wanted to run off and hide.
And isolate herself totally, just like Luke did. She was going to be like Luke.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then you get the "What are you doing?" Which I love that because to me that was such a Mark Hamill moment. Not even it was a Mark Hamill.
I have that same moment on Idiots Array. Writer, what are you doing?
Well, we're gonna have to. We're gonna do a wrap it up signal.
Yes, we are.
We're
not wrapping anything up.
I know.
We're gonna do this again. Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. Try
We
to commit.
definitely do it again.
Yes. In fact, Mark just texted me and Ryder. He'd like to do the It's Array in this fashion, and I'm on board with that. So yes, I definitely want to do this often because I liked this. This was fun.
It's good. Yeah, I mean, when you show up for half of it, it's easy. But
wow, you guys are so like wow.
It's easy.
Wow. All right. Come on.
I'm
Come on, Ryder.
Let's
bring in the cuteness. It's all hug.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay.
When you're a dentist, it's always 2:30. So.
Whoa.
You guys are mean.
Whoa.
Devin and I are like, whoa. We're like, oh.
Sorry, Devin.
Yes.
Sorry, Devin. Go ahead.
I'm trying to wrap it up here. As you can see on the ticker, those are our contacts for all the podcasts
on Twitter.
On Twitter, just for Twitter, and then you can go to our respective Facebook pages and also to Twitter to find the links to all of our personal accounts as well. So
and all social media, Facebook and Instagram, all that good stuff.
Right.
Yep.
I mean,
and
hopefully
the plan is to have this audio then appear on everybody's separate feeds. So
yes,
that
I would like to try and plan that.
I was clueless.
Like to play that out all at the same time if we could. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like kind of. So we have to discuss that how we want to do that.
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Drop it as much as we can, as close to each other as we can.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
Okay.
Right. So when I end the broadcast, then we can still be in the room. But where can everybody find you, Becca, real quick?
Oh, yeah. Best place is Twitter. And that's our most active at YouAreAngelB. And like Devin said there, you'll see my plethora of contributions. Just click on those and you can either listen or read from me at those places. And okay, who wants to go next?
Ryder, go ahead.
Yeah, I am on Twitter at Ryder Waldron DDS. And you can also find me lurking in Alan's backyard tonight while he's sleeping.
Flossing.
Hey, you know what? There's a fire pit back there you could take advantage of if you really wanted to. It's okay. I guess I'll go next since he segued into me.
Yeah.
But I'm not on Twitter, but you can find me on Facebook. One of you already has, one of our listeners. It looks like I got a request from Ian. Hi, Ian. So, but yeah, you can find me on Facebook. Shoot us an email. I mean, I watch the emails as well. So, in fact, if you wanted to shoot me an email, it's jedizog@gmail. So easy to find me.
Awesome. All right, everybody.
And you, Dev? What about you, Dev?
Oh,
You
at
gotta
Red
say-
5
Yeah.
Mom everywhere.
Everywhere, Red 5 Mom.
Red 5 Mom.
Okay.
Pretty much.
All right.
So we're gonna end the broadcast here, but you all stay in the room while I do that, and we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, everybody. May the
Bye,
force be with
everybody.
you.
Ending.